The most important political and policy discussion today is on a package for farmers. The run-up to the general elections appears to have begun with a race of which party will promise how much more to the farmers, while a sustainable solution to Indian agriculture, of course, requires several things like land reforms, marketing reforms, probably another green revolution, more non-farm jobs. The race for the moment is for a quick fix. Now, our own reporters are picking up that the options the government could be considering include a higher minimum support price for some crops, some improvement to the Fasal Bima Yojana, some kind of loan SOPs maybe. But the most important, discussion is for probably an income package, an income support to poor farmers. To discuss what can possibly be done before the model code of conduct kicks in, probably around March, first week, we have with us Dr. Ashok Gulati, former chairman of the Agricultural Prices Commission, and of course, perhaps India's best known expert on agriculture economics. Thank you very much for joining us. First up, according to you, what is a possible quick fix? We have heard of several things. What is doable according to you?
The quick fix that can be done within 3 months is primarily big announcements. Now, how much that can be operationalized and distributed within 3 months, and that's quite doubtful. You can see what the Prime Minister tried to do on the price policy front. They announced much higher MSPs based on what they call cost A2 plus FL, family labor. But market prices are 20%, 30%, even 40% below for certain commodities. So that PM's Asha scheme has not really taken off. Now, at present, there is a desperate attempt how far we can really do some quick fix. And Congress President Mr. Rahul Gandhi has gone ahead with loan waivers, announcing that one after the other in 3 states, and he bagged literally 3 states in his kitty as far as the political debate is concerned. And he has challenged the Prime Minister also on that he will not let him sleep unless he does the All India loan waiver. Now, if the Prime Minister does that, he is falling in the trap of the opposition party's president. So he is going to do something more innovative and perhaps maybe bigger. And what are the options there? There is the income policy question, a quasi-universal basic income type, or Raitu Bandhu of Telangana, or Odisha has announced Kalia scheme. All these are options at present. We can get into details of that.
Okay, so first, let me start with what may be, feasible on the loan front. Do you think it's possible to extend loan tenures? That was what someone was suggesting could be done immediately. You either extend it and say that all farm loans will get 1 more year in terms of payment, something which they can manage to do because 70% of the banking system is with the government. Or can they announce new loan packages with an even bigger subvention? I mean, already I think there was the 7% subvention became a 4% loan. Can it be reduced even lower? Are these quick fixes which can be implemented?
Sure, but the question is extending a loan amount, for another 1 year for payment back is not a loan waiver. It is just extending the deadline. They may also announce zero interest on that. Now, these are quick fixes, but it will not bite the bullet if the opposition party is promising total loan waiver. So, total loan waiver versus postponement of payment by 1 year, there is no comparison. So, I don't think that will
bring home the bacon. Okay. All right. Well, the other thing is, of course, universal income. And universal basic income is something even you had suggested, I think even at least a year ago when I spoke with you. the universal basic income or the Telangana's Raitu Bandhu scheme could work, we understand, because land records were already at an advanced stage of updation in Telangana, and plus the government put the entire civil service to work for 6 months so that the scheme could work. Now, can the central government do that? Because this is a state issue. Can they update records so quickly in the first place?
You know, one thing that the center can do is that they can invite. It can be a joint responsibility in a way that the center is going to announce a package, and those state governments which are ready to join in this package, and center can say we will give 50% or 60% or 70% of the cost, but you have to update the land records. In Telangana, they did it in 100 days actually. Now, lately, Odisha has announced where they have taken a step further, going beyond the landowners. They have included also the agriculture labor. Now, how to identify that? It's a challenging task, and one will have to, monitor and see how many are the exclusion errors and so on and so forth. Because actually the real cultivator, whether it is a tenant or an owner-operator, they should be the ones who get. But then there are agricultural laborers who are working on those fields. Are they also getting something? So all these ideas can be announced, and it can be a center-state partnership. I would go a step further, that bring and announce the fertilizer subsidy and power subsidy of the states also onto the same package, so that you have a major step forward in that direction. But it's not going to be distributed in the next 2 months or 3 months. It will be an announcement, and then assurance that as you update the land records and your other, if you are including agriculture laborers, some records have to be created, and they need to be linked to Aadhaar so that we know how much is going in each account.
Okay. Well, I have a couple of issues if I were a politician with this kind of announcement. One, if you're a ruling party announcing this because you want to come back to power, and you say you're doing it in partnership with the states, that somehow takes away the cutting edge of the announcement. Do you think they will be able to get over this? If you were thinking with the ruling party's hat on, how can they announce in a way that this can be a killing proposition?
If the center has to announce this, then the cost is humongous. Yep. They should be ready for almost 2 lakh crores or even more if they want to give it in 2 seasons to that family or cut corners here and there, but nothing less than 2 lakh crores. Now, if they want to come back, this is going to haunt them because the resources are large, and it is every year. It's not one-time announcement.
Okay.
Whereas loan waiver could be one-time announcement. Okay. So there is a trade-off that you look at.
Can you give us some idea of what may be the cost? Should the bond markets, for instance, be prepared for a 2 lakh crore package, a 1 lakh crore package, a 50,000 crore package?
One thing is clear, the game now politically is not 20,000 crores or 30,000 crores. It is 2 lakh crores or 3 lakh crores or even more, because loan waivers, our estimates are that the loans outstanding in September 2018 were 10.5 lakh crores. And this is the banking sector. If you add the packs on that, primary agriculture credit societies loans outstanding, then you have about 12 to 13 lakh crores of loans outstanding. Now, how much you will cut corners, how much you fix the caps and so on and so forth, still you may end up between 4 to 5 lakh crores of package through loan waivers if it is done at all India level, as the Congress president has been saying. Now, this is a cheaper, but then this is a more stable and structured policy, but it has to be done every year. So you can spread it over a period of time. But one last thing I must say, all these things are going towards welfareism. The investment impact of this, because the resources are limited and investments will suffer. So there is a trade-off between short-term to medium to long-term, and there is no substitute of structural reforms that agriculture has been crying out for long, and they have not been done by the previous government or this government.
Dr. Gulati, I think the conversation is hotting up. You're speaking about the kind of bill the country will have to pay. We've been speaking with the best-known mind in Indian agricultural economics, Dr. Ashok Gulati. Dr. Gulati, before going to the break, you were telling us about what things might cost. You said 4 to 5 lakh crore. Is that for the basic income scheme?
No, 4 to 5 lakh crores is not the annual package. That is the cost of loan waiver if you want to do one time. And the income approach, or universal basic income you call it, or the Raitu Bandhu model, or the Odisha model of Kalia, whatever you call, I feel it's going nationwide, it's going to cost you about 2 lakh crores a year. Now, the difference between the two is that if you do loan waivers, it will cost you high, but it benefits only 30% of the farmers, because only 30% of the farmers take institutional credit. So 70% of the peasantry still will be under stress. So you spend more, get less political mileage through loan waivers, although the noise is more about loan waivers. Whereas in this income approach, the way Raitu Bandhu has done, it claims to have reached 93% of the cultivators, the farmers, landowners. There are improvements that can be made to include tenants, and if agricultural laborers, the way Odisha is trying to do, it will need effort and time, but you can reach at least 90% of the farmers, so you can redress a part of their distress. Whereas in case of either price policy approach, higher price policy, or loan waivers, you can't reach more than 20 to 30% of the farmers.
Okay. Well, how do you reach landless labor? Even if the Raitu Bandhu scheme is scaled up nationally, it only touches the landowners or even maybe tenant farmers, but it doesn't touch landless. Is that not in the works at all, anything for landless labor?
At present, Raitu Bandhu touches only the landowners, not even the tenants. The difficulty was that tenants can change every year or every second year, and therefore how to keep a track of that. So that's an operational challenge if you want to include tenants. Whereas Odisha's Kalia scheme has talked about including the tenants as well as the agricultural laborers. And we are asking them this basic question, that how are you going to identify? The land census that is done does record certain things, but it will have to be updated and verified at the Gram Sabha level, or whatever the administrative system at the lowest level exists. And there could be all sorts of inclusion or exclusion errors, that's why I said within 3 months you can't do a major you can do only announcement, but not really implement it in a big way. You have to take the help of the states. The center cannot do alone.
Okay, what about the Fasal Bima Yojana? Can the insurance schemes be improved upon for electoral gains or even otherwise? I think Fasal Bima Yojana, Pradhan Mantri's, it was a great step in the right direction. But unfortunately, the way it has been implemented, the cutoff points for registering the compensation assessment, damage assessment, and the compensation to be given, it takes months and years. It could have been done with better technology within a week's time. That's why the farmers don't have full trust that Fasal Bima Yojana has really benefited them because of the operational problems it has faced. Although it is primarily centers, big expenditure going into that. States are also pitching in, but the implementation has to be done at a state level. I would say that the operational challenges in this country are so much
that whatever you want to do, give it directly into the accounts of the farmers, link it to Aadhaar. That's the easiest way, and the biggest trump card that Pradhan Mantri had was opening Jan Dhan accounts at such a massive scale, but they have not been fully utilized to transfer all the subsidies and this type of assistance to the farmers or even agricultural laborers or others. I would say even put your food subsidy, monetize that and put it through these accounts and link to the Aadhaar, so you know each family how much they are getting from different places. That's the way to go forward.
Okay, if you can put on your generalist hat, Dr. Gulati, the worry is that the bond market is scared that there could be a bigger borrowing. Now, should the bond market worry about some borrowing this year itself, or should its worry primarily be a borrowing that will start post-April or post-May when a new government comes?
I can give a very general answer. More, you need to talk to RBI officials and the management what impact it will have. But, it cannot be rolled out, any scheme cannot be rolled out within the next 2-3 months unless they simply say whatever the Jan Dhan accounts are there, we are putting 10,000 rupees in each account and we'll later figure out what profession you are in. Okay. So it's more like a universal basic income at the lowest level. That's it.
Okay, well, one hopes that's also not one of the packages being considered. That sounds genuinely reckless. But since we spoke about the Reserve Bank as well, do you think announcements or even imminent announcements of such a package will have an impact on the thinking of the MPC? The MPC is faced with the clement situation in terms of food and fuel prices, and there are some people who are also expecting that there is elbow room for rate cuts. But if such large fiscal packages are on the anvil already in the states and impending one in the center, do you think that space gets lost for the MPC?
Lata, you are luring me into a field where I have constraints. I'm associated with RBI in the board.
Okay, but you're not associated with the MPC, sir.
The management of RBI. No. But I think RBI is more better equipped to respond to your questions.
All right, we will leave it at that. Well, actually,
anything on agriculture, I can respond.
All right. Okay, let me end with the longer-term solution. Of course, there will be packages announced and rival packages announced, and that will take away, from capex expenditure and put it into perhaps revenue expenditure. But for the new government that will come in May, even if it is the current dispensation coming back, what would be a sensible solution for what is quite clearly very pressing farm distress?
One thing that you have to be very clear about, most of us are thinking these are doles being announced. I do not call it a dole. I have termed it as an atonement. Yes, it is a political bait at one end to the voters, but actually it is an atonement for not reforming agriculture and following those policies which have implicitly taxed agriculture for a long time. In fact, we have done a massive study with OECD. 17 years we have covered, and we have found that agriculture has been implicitly taxed in this country to the tune of 14% of the gross farm receipts of the farmers. So actually it's a payback time. You had hidden policies of export restrictions, of restrictive domestic marketing policies, stocking limits, and so on and so forth. All these have ended up suppressing the prices for the consumer and against the farmer. You have a food subsidy every year. 1,69,000 crores is the budgeted subsidy this year, and there were unpaid bills of FCI of 1,34,000 crores. We can give to the consumer, but when it comes to the farmer, we say, oh, these are doles and so on and so forth. Why don't you free up the markets totally? allow the private sector to come in a big way. I think the first thing that the farmer needs is freedom of markets and freedom to choose the best technologies in the world. We have failed to assure that, and therefore I call these types of announcement now an atonement for not doing the reforms in agriculture sector.
Okay, but that point is taken, sir. It's definitely one of the more neglected sectors. But ultimately, will we be able to support 50-60% of the population on agriculture? Ultimately, the answer, doesn't it lie in providing alternative occupations?
Sure. But the question is your non-farm sector growing at a fast enough pace that people can move out, and are you doing enough skill formation of those in the rural areas so that people can move out to the high productivity jobs? I think that pace is extremely slow in this country, because the construction sector, where normally they go in herds, that is not picking up at a pace fast enough. So in the absence of that, agriculture has become a parking lot of the poor, and something has to be given for the implicit taxation that you have imposed on them for such a long time. So I think there are major reform agenda that had been waiting. This government had a wonderful opportunity. It was ruling in 21, 22 states, and they could have done major reforms. But I'm sorry to say, it's a bit of disappointment that that opportunity is lost today, and loan waivers are not a solution. Everybody knows that, but these are the gimmicks and these are the baits at the political time of each party.
Well, Dr. Gulati, thank you very much for joining us with this comprehensive conversation on the near term.
Thank you for having me.
The medium term and the long term for agriculture. So key takeaways from our guest and practically the best known mind on Indian agriculture is: one, nothing much can be done in the next probably 8-12 weeks to ensure a better deal for farmers. So maybe for the moment, the bond market should not worry that there will be a bigger bill, but the bond market definitely needs to worry about the medium term, about next year's borrowing. Quite possible that there will be large packages announced in terms of either farm incomes or waivers or extensions of loans, which will mean taking away from capital expenditure as well as higher borrowing next year. And the third big takeaway from Dr. Gulati, of course, is that lasting solutions lie in correcting the market errors, allowing a fair price to the farmer, a remunerative price to the farmer, rather than protecting consumers all the time at the expense of the farmer. And, of course, creating non-farm jobs, especially in the construction sector, something which doesn't look like on the anvil. Thank you very much for watching this special edition of Indianomics.